Happy 60th Independence Anniversary, compatriots. Congratulating ourselves is still in order despite our numerous developmental challenges. This is indeed a time for sober reflection. As a man who is 60, you should be retiring with your children gathered round your table. Nigeria, truth be told, is going through a lot as a country. The country's leadership is struggling with issues of corruption, poverty, unemployment, insecurity, and indiscipline. Nigeria of today, unlike in the past, has lost a spirit of patriotism. The country is supposed to belong to all of us, but it seems only a few is benefiting from the country. The rule of law has become a textbook expression which seems to have no bearing on governance. What has Nigeria got to show for 60 years of independence?
I don't think we are actually celebrating Nigeria because Nigeria should have been bigger than it is today. If you see a 60 years old man, you will appreciate how long 60 years is. Because if you go back in time and look at where we are coming from, let's even begin from the Obasanjo government, the military government of Obasanjo in 1976 when he took over from Murtala Mohammed. He introduced Operation Feed the Nation. You know, from 1976 to now is almost 44 or 45 years. But instead of the government feeding, or the nation feeding the people are feeding the nation while they are hungry. After Obasanjo left, he handed over to Shagari. Shagari's government was bedeviled with a lot of trouble, political trouble, corruption, and that one went. The part one of Buhari came, the military Buhari, as head of state. He introduced war against indiscipline and the physical regime by forcing people to sell things at prices that government feels is okay for the citizens. You know, but it didn't create much effect. He was removed by Ibrahim Babangida General also, who introduced structural adjustment program. You know, and then MAMSA, mass mobilization for social and economic recovery. But Nigeria has not recovered economically till date. And then the structural adjustment program didn't create much effect. And we were told then that we are the leaders of tomorrow. I was a young man then, or a young boy. Today, my children are grown. I'm still telling them that they are the leaders of tomorrow. I don't think that's where we should be as a country, especially at 60 years.
Many complain of social inequality being on the increase, with the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Although good attempts have been made to lift Nigerians out of poverty since 1980, when former President Shehu Shagari declared his poverty reduction measures in the country, Nigerians have been trapped in misery and poverty.
Education, then when we grow up, we still have time to read our books. As I speak to you now, the schools are not on. We believe on phone because phone have come to existence. We don't look, the children do not more look at their books again. So we have not done well. Unless we go back and see how we can copy the few things how we were doing before in the British government. If we copy them to the present time we are now, I think we'll do more better.
Nigeria's education sector is suffering at present. Public schools, which house over 80% of pupils and students, are in a state of disrepair. Learning in many public schools is now taking place in very poor structures. Learning materials are not adequate, with teachers and lecturers poorly paid. Repeated strikes have been the order of the day in Nigeria's education sector. In our tertiary institutions, a cold war exists between the academic and non-academic staff, with both of them taking turns to embark on strikes to press home their demand for better working conditions. While private schools may not be experiencing industrial actions by their staff, However, the exploitative approach of the private school owners makes patronage of their services unattractive. Despite that, huge foreign exchange is lost to education tourism as Nigerians who could afford it flock to tertiary institutions abroad in pursuit of academic excellence. At the end, those who spent millions on their education in private schools and those who spend far less in public schools graduate into unemployment markets where only a few gainful job opportunities exist. The high rate of unemployment has aided corruption as the few jobs available go to those who are either well connected or willing to pay for the available job opportunities.
Years, Nigeria has nothing to prove. No employment, no good hospital. The president himself was sick. They took him outside the country. If we had a better health facilities in this country today, he wouldn't have gone there. They would have treated him in Nigeria. Highest we fly those doctors into Nigeria. But as I speak with you today, no good hospital. Go to teaching hospital, you don't have Panadol. You go to other hospitals, there are no drugs. There are bad beds. I am telling you, a country like Dubai, if you go there, I've been admitted in one of the hospitals, and I know how the hospital has been put in place. We don't have such hospital in Nigeria.
Nigeria's health sector, like education, is another sad story. Many of our public hospitals are in deplorable conditions. They are poorly equipped and inadequately staffed. The patient-to-doctor ratio is abysmal. The World Health Organization recommends a ratio of 1 doctor to 600 people in a community, but we are far from that. Many citizens cannot boast of health insurance. In Nigeria today, diseases such as malaria, cholera, dysentery, cough are currently diseases that plague citizens of the country. Thankfully, we've been certified polio-free after many decades. However, Nigeria's infant and maternal mortality is one of the highest in the world. Security-wise, we are fighting wars on different fronts. Before the advent of Boko Haram insurgency in 2009, Nigeria grappled with ethno-religious conflicts, banditry, and kidnapping for ransom. Thrown into the mix now are the herders-farmers clashes, which have led to thousands of deaths as well as destruction of farmlands and livestock worth billions of naira. This has increased the deep-seated suspension between Fulani herders and farmers across the country, especially in Benue, Taraba, Plateau, Adamawa, and Nasarawa states. The spike in crime and criminality has been traced to the global terrorism prevalence, social injustice, unemployment, and poverty. Several security summits have been held. Billions of dollars in extra budgetary spending have been incurred, and additional security personnel have been recruited, all with little impact. Unfortunately, while our leaders secure themselves and their households, a majority of Nigerians are at the mercy of criminal elements among us. There is no clearer sign of state capture by criminal gangs than the various amnesty programs initiated for the Niger Delta militants who carried out economic crimes of pipeline vandalism, oil bunkering, and kidnapping for ransom, and their counterparts in Katsina and Zamfara states who are into banditry. The deplorable state of infrastructure has continued to slow down Nigeria's economic growth. The country's road network is in a state of decay, be they federal, state, or local government roads. Many of them are ridden with potholes, gullies, thereby causing avoidable road accidents and security risks as the bandits take advantage of the bad portions of the road to carry out armed robbery and kidnapping. Today, many people who fly are doing so not because they enjoy it, but because of their safety and security. However, it is heartwarming that the federal government is fixing the rail infrastructure aimed at affordable mass transit. But work on these rail projects needs to be increased in order to relieve pressure on our roads. Also, the inland waterways as a means of transport have been largely underdeveloped. Yet, this is needful in order to provide an alternative means of transport to Nigerians. Electricity provision in the country is still very insignificant. At best, the power generation is still hovering around 7,000 megawatts. This is grossly inadequate to efficiently run the economy. Epileptic electricity supply has exponentially increased the cost of doing business in Nigeria, as most companies have to run their businesses on power generating equipment. This has also substantially led to increased fuel consumption. Ironically, 60 years after independence, the country still exports crude oil only to import refined petroleum products, as our 4 state-owned refineries have gone comatose. Price of fuel now is beyond the reach of ordinary Nigerians. The economy is suffering. The rate of unemployment is going higher, and the population is increasing at an alarming rate. Corruption remains a potent threat to Nigeria's continued existence. While attempts are being made by federal agencies like the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, and the Nigeria Police Force to fight the monster, the perpetrators have been finding creative ways to escape punishment. In spite of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, prosecution of corruption cases is still being done at a snail's pace. Just imagine what the billions of naira being stolen by our political leaders could have done to fix the infrastructural deficit of the country. We have done well in areas like music. Our superstars are respected worldwide. Our literal legends like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie and Wole Soyinka can stand their feet anywhere in the world. Our movies are shown in cinemas across the world. We have done well.
So first of all, diversification from oil, looking into agri, and then government should also improve the funding of education.
We should see how our leaders can represent us well and give us the messages.
Country, it is the youth to rise up. The old men has taken their turn and they have eaten into our turn. So the solution is that the young men, because the Bible says that the youths are the leaders, that they are the future tomorrow.
Like in medical science, an X-ray helps in diagnosis of ailments. Thankfully, Nigeria's ailment is not terminal. It is curable. However, are our leaders ready to do the needful by taking the bitter pills of patriotism and lead the country for better governance? This documentary was written by Ubong Usoro, voiced by Olusegun Ogundeji, mixed and mastered by Pere Kennedy, and produced by Fidelis Duka for FAD 360 TV.